Yeah, it's a great question. Satisfaction and employee engagement from a scholar sense are one and the same term. You can be quiet quitting is usually what that term comes down to now, which is, can I stay and do the bare minimum and still get paid for it? Without the right management in place, leadership in place, inspirations, sure, that can exist. But the organizations that do the best have their managers spend time on engagement and worried about that than anything else, because they'll know that on the other side of engagement is the performance that we're all after. So the growth and development of an employee, if they're engaged and they're looking to move on, it's because they've outgrown the role or the organization. And I would say it's a point of pride if your employees are an alumni of your organization and move up and out because they're loyal to the brand and the mission and purpose which they're after. They're still engaged, they're just engaged in a different way. Yeah, I always say that for every misaligned expectation of your most talented employee, there's a recruiter in their inbox waiting for that day. And those that worry about, well, if they're engaged, are they going to move on? You've missed the point of, we really should just focus on how do I continue to grow and develop this person. Maybe it's job crafting. Maybe it's in a way in which that we pay has changed as well. Or ultimately, what more can we put in front of them that keeps them hungry for what it is that we're after? I love this question. Traditional research would point towards the managers, it's their responsibility. And I would agree, up to 70% is the research number of how much they own in their own team engagement. What I have seen as practitioner-wise is, if you wait to be engaged, you're missing the point of how do I engage myself? So I ask my teams, if you leave unengaged for a day, it's a phone call to me because I want to know what caused that, or what do we do different because as a result of that. And those that wait to be engaged, you're at the most amount of risk. So it is the organization's point, but it's also the employee to stay engaged and be able to describe what's not engaging to them. Yeah, first is individualized. So I say, talent falls out of people's mouth every day, you just got to listen for it. And so depending upon what your talents are, how do I change if we're working on the same team, I would worry about what are your talents and where are they at, and how do I change my approach to you, not you change to me. So I've got to take that focus to it. Number two would be taking a strengths lens to it and have an appreciation for, we all know the one person that can talk to anybody in a crowd. Some look at that as a burden versus if you take a strengths lens to it, you have an appreciation for that. So where do I plug them in that gets the most for the role, but for the organization based on who they are? And the third point would be to take an engagement lens to it as well. Not just knowing where they're engaged, but an ongoing engagement, everyday type of activities that managers could take more as a coach than a leader would be great. Yeah, AI seems to be the biggest challenge I've noticed. And from a human resource, I did a paper recently on what executives in the US doing as a result of human or AI and HR. And the consensus was some are watching and waiting to see what others do. Some are trying to fulfill positions based on this. But to me, those that are using AI as an administration burden removal, or how do you amp up your writing or ways that you can do things that are not human driven, that don't require a heartbeat, as I would say, are the ones that are pulling ahead.